We turn to Jake Fischer, who, of course, is a senior NBA reporter for Yahoo Sports, wrote a fantastic book called Built to Lose, How the NBA's Tanking Era Changed the League Forever. And Jake's doing amazing reporting on this. Jake, thanks so much for joining us. How you been?
Thank you, guys. I'm doing well because that boppy waiting room house music that our listeners have no idea what I'm talking about. But I enjoyed that in my Zoom waiting room here. So thank you guys for bringing me on to that pizzazz, I guess.
Yeah, you're welcome. The Weedos and the Purple Drinkers in our chat know exactly what you're talking about. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio if you want to watch, Jake. So Bradley Beal, you've done some reporting on Beal, on Harden, etc. But let's start with Beal for a moment. I mean, I think people kind of forget, Jake, he's a really good player. He's been kind of wasting away a little bit in D.C. What's the market like for Beal, who is already under a massive contract, but is still, I believe, on the right side of 30?
He's turning 30 in a couple weeks,
okay.
So we're getting close. We're getting close. And he is a very good player. He's been a much better player, before the last two seasons where durability issues have really started to plague both him and the Wizards' ultimate success. The thing about his trade market, though, is not really so focused on that aspect of it. It's the fact that he's the only player in the NBA who has a no trade clause that comes attached to a 5-year contract over $250 million that still has 4 years, 200 left. So under this new approaching CBA landscape that, kicks in on July 1st, June 30th at 6 p.m., that type of window, it's going to be difficult to find a lot of teams that are willing to actually pay a pretty high premium to bring him on into their tax structure, being that no trade clause doesn't go anywhere. So if it doesn't work out like Russell Westbrook didn't work out with the Lakers, or it doesn't work out like James Harden didn't work out with Brooklyn, you're still going to have multiple years, well over $50 million in salary, where he can prevent you from getting off his contract once again.
Jake, do teams around the league view Beal as a missing piece on a title contender? And if so, what's the team there you think they could add a Beal and be right there as contenders?
He does have that wing connective type of skill set where he can absolutely thrive off of lead guards like he did with John Wall back before Wall's injuries, and he ended up heading out the door. His best season of his career came with Russell Westbrook 2-3 years ago, before Westbrook got moved to Los Angeles. So you see Miami popping up, and they've been the team that's been, from my understanding, at or near the top of Bradley Beal's own wish list for 3 years now, because every summer we go back to whether or not Bradley Beal wants to stick around in Washington. So the Heat are absolutely a team to keep an eye on in that championship conversation, to your point, Perloff. And I think, depending on what type of outgoing package goes out for the Wizards, there's still going to be a lot of talent left. Jimmy Butler's not heading out the door in that scenario. Bam Adebayo's not. So just looking at that right there, Bradley Beal will be a pretty nice piece to slot next to those two guys.
I'll tell you what, that contract got signed, and the day it was signed with Bradley Beal was like, when are both sides going to want to get out of this thing? It was like you knew it when the pen hit the paper that this was no good. Jake Fischer is joining us. He's Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer. Before we get to Harden and Dame, because I know we're on in Portland, Oregon, so everyone's very interested in what's going on with Dame. Got to ask you about Zion. So this kind of popped up maybe out of nowhere a little bit, feels like it. He has an extension that's about to kick in, but now could possibly be on the trade block before the draft. Jake, how much are you buying that?
So I think all this stuff that's popping up, to your point, Maggie, is because of this new second apron that's really quickly approaching, and every single team does not want to go through that next tax threshold where there are going to be harsher penalties where you're going to have draft picks frozen in the future. So it's going to limit your flexibility to make ongoing trades. And for the Pelicans, where they've already got Brandon Ingram on a massive maximum contract, Zion's new deal kicks in, you're going to have to pay other guys like Trey Murphy and Herb Jones if they stick around, not to mention Dyson Daniels, who they just picked last year in the lottery. Plus they've got another lottery pickup coming here. It makes sense for the Pelicans to look at potential opportunities to offload Zion, being that he hasn't really played in 4 seasons in the NBA. People want to compare him to Joel Embiid. Joel missed his first 2 years. He had a pretty strong rookie season, and since then he's been on the court minimum 50 games every single year. Zion's kind of past that in terms of question marks at this point. So you couple it with the fact that both Charlotte at 2 and Portland at 3 are very open to listening to offers. And Scoot Henderson is someone that I've been told, and it's been reported pretty widely, that the Pelicans really do value. I think it's natural for his name to come up. But to your question, I am very skeptical that they actually do end up parting with him, because I think the Pelicans would think it would take more than the second or the third pick to get off of him. And I think Portland and Charlotte would probably have to think that might not be worth it for their while. So it's kind of a catch-22 there.
You don't think Portland would do that deal, hypothetically, if Scoot fell to 3 and New Orleans called and said, we'll give you Zion, they wouldn't be interested?
I think they would have to be interested and have to talk about it. But when you think about the mechanics, they have to send out a lot of salary to match Zion's 40-something, at that 194 number. So you can't just send out 3. You're going to also have to send out Yusuf Nurkic and potentially, Anthony Simons and other pieces that at that point, when you start to think about it, it might get a little too expensive for Portland's interest there.
Jake, I was a little disappointed in your latest column on Yahoo because I'm a 76ers fan, and you basically reported that they want to keep Harden and they're not interested in Beal, and it doesn't seem like they're really expanding their net about who they're going to add around Joel Embiid. Does it seem to you like it's headed that direction where Harden is going to go back to Philadelphia?
Right now, on Thursday, June 15th, if I had to place a wager on it, I would say yes. I do think signs are shifting that direction, let's say. I mean, the Houston thing certainly seems real still. The Rockets are absolutely operating with the idea that he could be coming, and they're looking at guys like Brook Lopez and Dylan Brooks who could pair with him. But I mean, Philly's pulling out all the stops that I probably shouldn't even go further on, looking at potential ramifications there to bring this guy back. And to your point about like secondary options and exit strategies, if he does leave, I don't think Philly's going to overreact here. I mean, the thought of, trade Tyrese Maxey to go get somebody, they value Tyrese Maxey pretty highly. Tobias Harris is probably the best trade chip and a 2030 first-round pick that Philly will get access to here once the draft begins. That's kind of their best avenue to try to find, maybe you turn Tobias' salary into 2 players that he's going to be making $39 million in the final year of his 5-year, $180 million contract. So that's probably their best route and their most pragmatic route to upgrading this roster around Joel Embiid in the event Harden does go.
Jake Fischer, Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer. Okay, I mentioned last one for you. We're on in Portland. So this is like the yearly exercise that we do with Dame Lillard, but is there really a chance this year? I mean, he mentioned already Miami was a place he would like to go. Funny, everyone wants to go to Miami. It's interesting. He also mentioned Brooklyn, though, which is interesting, too. Is he going to get moved this offseason? If you had to handicap it, how would you put it?
So if we take everyone at their word, Portland saying we're not going to do anything other than try to build around Dame, and Dame saying, well, if you don't get this type of player to raise our ceiling for the championship, then I'm going to be asking out of here. You have to start playing process of elimination and see if the Blazers actually can get somebody who can really raise Portland's ceiling. And it's going to be difficult. Like, outside of throwing a really large offer at Chicago for someone like Zach LaVine, or, Pascal Siakam from Portland, or OG Anunoby from Portland, I don't really see too many players who are veterans, who have proven to have success in the postseason, that are actually on teams that are willing to go move off of a established player like that for a top pick. Like, Jaylen Brown is not available for Portland's dreamiest ideas of pairing Dame with a two-way wing like that. So at this point, I feel like it's a wait and see. Those dominoes you mentioned about, like, Miami, everyone wants to go to Miami. If the Heat all of a sudden go and get Bradley Beal this week and that option's gone for Dame, if Brooklyn, makes some other moves that takes them off the table, and all of a sudden he's looking around and saying there's really nothing else out there for me anyway, maybe he sticks around. A lot of this stuff is kind of like one of those exercises that we do in grade school where there's like column A and column B, and you have to draw lines to the matching pairs and stuff like that. At a certain point, if you're the last guy left in column A and there's no teams left in column B, you kind of just might be, stuck with the situation that you're in. I'm not saying Dame would feel stuck, but he's not going to request a trade until he feels like it's absolutely necessary.
Okay, before I let you go, Jake, Maggie, we have to break down a tweet that went super viral by a former colleague.
Okay.
Our buddy Andrew Sharp tweeted something yesterday that took off and dominated the internet, and I fell for it. He tweeted, "I know the Spurs like Wemby, but if a guy like Beal is available, you got to wonder whether Pop considers putting that pick on the table. Something to keep an eye on." Now, Andrew Sharp, I don't know him that well. I did not know that he was assuming now he's going to be sarcastic. I read it at first, and like everybody, assumed that he was being serious.
You want to know why? This has nothing to do actually with Andrew Sharp. This is about you and I being the only people, I think, on earth who are even a tad bit skeptical about Victor Wembanyama. Now, it's the body type. It's the grind of the 82-game season. It's everything that comes with, I think you wanted to read into that.
That could be. It's just the way Andrew worded this. By the way, he got 2 million views, 4,000 likes. It's his biggest tweet ever. It went crazy because nobody understood he was kidding. Jake, he's totally kidding, right?
He's totally kidding. The Spurs aren't considering trading number one at all. And honestly, any thought about them being like aggressive with their cap space here to try to make a play-in push around Victor, I'm skeptical of that too. I think they're going to slow roll this thing, bake him slowly in the oven, and wait for him to come out and the whole team to come out, just a perfectly shaped cake ready for,
I told you.
Maggie said that the other day.
Wait, Jake,
she said that to me, that they're not going to play him 40 minutes a game.
I want every bet in the universe that he doesn't play 50 games this year. I mean, the Spurs are like the load management, OGs. Like they're going to bring him along at a snail's pace. Jake Fischer, Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer. You can read all of his stuff, and this is a cool time of year for people in your industry, Jake. So thanks so much, and congrats again on the book.